Thank you for joining us today. It's wonderful to see you all. Welcome to the Poetry Flash reading series. And as Harold said, I'm Joyce Jenkins, editor and director of Poetry Flash. We are really pleased today to present the authors of 3 brand new 16 Rivers Press books, Dane Cervine, Carolyn Miller, and Lenore Myers. It's a great pleasure to have them here today for this book launch celebration. We have their books here for purchase after the reading. Copies of Dane's book are also available online at bookshop.org/shop/poetryflash. All of the new books are available, of course, through 16 Rivers Press after the reading. But as you can see, one-stop shopping. I just wanted to bring to your attention, arts groups in Berkeley have launched an effort to get an arts funding bond measure on the ballot in November to counter severe budget cuts. If you are registered to vote in Berkeley, I have a petition here, and if you wouldn't mind signing it, it would be a great favor. If I can tell you more about it, if this ballot measure went through in November, it would mean it is a bond measure, so there would be a small increase in property taxes, which I know nobody wants, but it would mean a $6 million pot for arts efforts in Berkeley and keep our theaters, our visual arts, our literary arts, our festivals happening in Berkeley. And considering that Berkeley celebrates itself and puts that forth as a carrot for how wonderful, what a special place Berkeley is, and then to not have that would be a bad scene. So we all want to stay in Berkeley with our community, and or at least nearby. So if you want more information about it, come and talk to me after the reading.
It's only a few cents on the...
Yeah, I know, but still, I mean, I respect it. I'm just, I'm empathizing. Thanks to all of you who donated to Richard Selberg's GoFundMe. Much appreciated. We're planning to use it to sustain him with caregivers in his little apartment until we can find and qualify for more care for him. And he can't express it now. He's having extreme difficulty speaking, but he is grateful for your support. We truly appreciate your help to keep our community together and at these events online. And it's even more important than usual these days, for obvious reasons, to visit and if you feel like it, our donation page is poetryflash.org/give. Thanks to Art House Gallery, thanks to impresario Harold Adler, and we have wonderful readings here. Support Art House, and thanks to Stephen Bunza and Rosalinda Monroy for their help today. Our first reader will be in ABC order, Dane Cervine, and his new collection of prose poems is Children of Obscura, This Mysterious Human. Farnaz Fatemi says, these are poems that unite the poets and scientists about how knowledge helps and blinds us and probably binds us, written with a poet's delight in language. He is a therapist and writer from Santa Cruz. Through long association with Emerald Street Writers and Poetry Santa Cruz, in his words, he has nurtured and been nurtured by the lively literary scene in the Monterey Bay and greater San Francisco Bay Area. His poems have won awards from Adrienne Rich, Tony Hoagland, Atlanta Review, Caesura, and have been nominated for multiple Pushcarts. His work has appeared in many journals and anthologies. This is his second book of prose poems with 16 Rivers Press. Please welcome Dane Cervine.
Make sure I get that. Thank you, Joyce. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, yes.
Great. Thank you so much for coming out for another crop of 16 Rivers poets. Many thanks to Joyce and to the Art House. I used to be a Berkeleyite, and now I'm in Santa Cruz. I brought my wife this time because we had to see this venue. It's just amazing. I thought I'd begin with, so I like this painting. It's from Richard Russo in Santa Cruz. It's a weird little collection, and I want to give you a hint at what I'm about in the book from the preface. The universe may have had suspicions about what it was to become. Mathematicians and physicists know that hidden in a few simple rules are complexities that become worlds. I offer these poems as mirrors to some original intuition. Each prose poem an essay, to use Jane Hirschfield's metallurgic word, to investigate the nearly 14 billion years it's taken to produce life on Earth and we obscure human beings. As the astronomer Edward Harrison says, hydrogen, given enough time, turns into people. We, the children of this brief moment on an enigmatic globe with a random cosmic address, are perhaps flowering into something the universe wanted more than anything. And this anthropomorphic language itself is a product of this flowering, this arrogance and tenderness of language. So what you'll find are these little prose poems, all based on odd and interesting facts about the body, about the human being, about scientific facts, and then it moves into anthropological and historical oddities, just to flesh out how weird we are as sentient beings on this planet. So I'll give you a few samplings from each section. This first one is called How to Build a Human. And the epigraph from Bill Bryson. We pass our existence within this warm wobble of flesh and yet take it almost entirely for granted. The miracle is that a jumble of inert chemicals and atoms makes you somehow you. For $5 in 1960s money, says a chemistry teacher in Iowa, everything you'd need could be bought in a hardware store. Though the list has grown, 59 elements are ultimately needed, including trace amounts of vanadium, manganese, tin, and copper. The 30 pounds of carbon today would fetch nearly 70,000, but mostly you just need oxygen and hydrogen, a $40 tab with inflation. It's the strangest thing in the universe, he says. We're sentient dirt. We may come cheap, but you couldn't build one of us even if you tried. And then staying with the body, this poem is called Color. And it struck me deep given everything going on in the country. Color. The cadaver yields a sliver of skin a millimeter thick, peeled back for the students to see, so thin as to be translucent. The pathologist says, this is where all your skin color resides. Biologically, this is what race is, a flowering of pigment, as though we are beautiful, not hated, as though beauty could seep through corpuscle and artery, up the spine, the skull sits on like a throne, and illumine what sits there, a gray ghost, a petty king. Being both a therapist and a meditator, I'm very familiar with that petty tyrant up in the skull, or on the East Coast, either one. This one's called Choreography, now about hands. Staring at my hand, I imagine its 29 bones, 17 muscles, 18 more in the forearm to control it. The 2 main arteries, 3 major nerves, plus 45 others, and 123 ligaments. To write these words, scratch my eyebrow, uproot weeds, love my wife, not pull a trigger, takes as much delicacy and precision as the cosmos choreographing its orbits. Proof enough, the old philosophers thought, of divine design. For me, it's enough to feel the 237 dancers of my hand intertwined with yours flawlessly. So the next section is called Beautiful Animals. And the poems get a little more, when it strays from the body, it gets a little more weird and interesting. I liked this notion from Aristotle called entelechy, how things have to achieve their full potential in form. Place a large number of simple objects together, and something complex emerges. One molecule of water in a vacuum may bore you. Pool enough water in an empty space, you'll have ocean. Order the squiggles of an alphabet into line. Each is a simple sound. String a few million together in the proper order, and you'll have Shakespeare or the Upanishads. As in a petri dish, something happens when single brains come together. The Beatles, Hitler, Gaia. Nature is a form of jazz, of blues. It plays through us. It appears to have a lot to say. Let's see. All right, here's one. The title's a little misleading, Interplanetary Travel. I have another poem earlier about giving us a hard time about finally going to other planets and ruining them. But this one is more internal planetary travel. Any 2 people are like separate universes. We have only a fraction of common microbes between us. That's how many there are. Diverse, territorial, jealous. Kissing transfers 1 billion between 2 mouths. A true blending of worlds. But as soon as the party's over, a giant purge occurs, and the universe of each is restored. Lips and tongues, a temporary transit. It's nice to know we can exist inside each other for a moment. Yet no matter how much I surrender all my light to the black hole of us, I'll return again, strangely intact, strangely different. So the next section, I have a Zen practice, and they're a little weird, and I found this poem, and then it became a section called How to Use Emptiness. And the first poem is a Zen koan, How to Use Emptiness. And this section moves out into the world with very odd facts from an Atlas Obscura kind of perspective. In Thailand, the monks of Wat Pa Maha Temple wake surrounded by empty beer bottles. They've begun recycling empties to keep the local streets clean, using them as building blocks to expand the temple. Mosaics of bottle caps and pebbles intertwine with 1 million green Heineken and brown Chang beer bottles, becoming the walls of prayer rooms, a crematorium, a water tower, restrooms, residences. The more empties brought to the monks, the larger the temple grows. Now, if you're a little perverse like I am, each of these has several layers, obviously. There's kind of a Jungian sub-theme, there's a meditative thing, and then there's just damn human quirkiness. Like this poem's called Inoculation, and I think of it in kind of a child psychologist way. I used to direct the children's mental health programs for Santa Cruz County for many years. And being a parent myself, we want everything to go perfectly with our kids, but maybe we should try a different approach. Inoculation. After Easter each year, the village of Castilla de Murcia invites men dressed as devils to leap over babies laid on mattress rows. The ancient baby jumping festival was begun in Spain to absolve infants of evil. Any child born within the year eligible to be leapt over by devil men in bright yellow suits. The infants fidget and coo, squirm and laugh, while admiring parents look on. They know what these trusting children do not, yet. There is wisdom in beginning early. The flash of yellow, masks of pain and joy. The way danger leaps, enigmatic, so near. I was thinking of this today before we came here. Our grandsons were on our back porch, and the youngest one just loved having a piece of peanut butter sandwich and dangling over the step while his mom and us rush to try and keep him from danger, but he liked danger. There's something about that in us that kids find their way through. All right, how about, I'm gonna just do a couple more here. The last section is called Secrets of the Matrix, has some strange things in it. I kind of like this one. I like little parables. I direct you to the back of the book for a description from Gerald Fleming, one of our fine 16 Rivers poets, as he edited Lawrence Fixell's work. And there's a nice description in there about the role of a parable or a koan or prose poems in the modern era. It's quite delightful, so I encourage you to read that. Radiohead. Afloat in an anonymous cosmos, the materialist is certain that when the brain dies, the music of consciousness dies too, like a radio that's suddenly switched off. The spiritualist is certain that this little radio does not produce its music. It merely broadcasts its waves from a remote, though ubiquitous, source. The psychologist wonders if the radio has an unconscious, the engineer only how the damn thing works. The musician is happy anyone bothers listening at all, whatever these invisible waves are and whoever might be playing them. And I will end with the last poem in the book, The Question Bone. It starts with an epigraph by H.L. Mencken from Minority Report. Penetrating so many secrets, we cease to believe in the unknowable, but there it sits, nevertheless, calmly licking its chops. Reality, the astrophysicist says, tenaciously resists any answers. He wonders if the universe is more slippery than imagined, that like math, reality comes into being through the questions asked of it, and that once asked can never be unasked. The universe is nuanced enough, he says, to hold a peach, an hour, a swig of whiskey, along with black holes in the center of galaxies, and to create minuscule parts of itself, to reflect on the whole catastrophe, as though it were the best ride in the cosmos. He ends the book with 3 questions. Who am I? What is this? Where from here? As though the universe, like a dog, has buried the asking itself deep in each bone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. This is, yeah. Thank you, Harold. Our next reader, the second of these 3 amazing new books, Carolyn Miller. She's a writer, painter, and freelance book editor. Her new collection of poems that we're here to celebrate today, Random Universe, covers an astonishing range of subjects. A reckless polka, a cemetery in Spolito, the discovery of salvation in the paintings of Cy Twombly. Zach Rogo says, the universe this book describes may be random, but it is also both gorgeous and familiar. The poet is in love with details of the world and brings them to the reader like a bouquet delivered right to your door. Julia B. Levine says, and I like this, through it all, she shows her remarkable talent for writing about sensuous joy, joy that is earned, though haunted by history and the poet's place in it. I am glad to sit at the banquet table of her random universe and feast. Her previous books, and we have them here, include After Cocteau, Light Moving, and Route 66 and Its Sorrows. Her poems have appeared widely in journals and in Garrison Keillor's anthology, Good Poems. Please welcome Carolyn Miller.
Thank you, Joyce. Thank you to everybody for coming today. And I will start by reading. How's the sound?
Good.
Okay. Can I bring this up a little bit so I can stand up straight?
We can fix that.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, close to the mic is
I don't
good.
want to hunch. This is also a quirky collection, I think, Dane. It started out as a collection of older poems that did not fit into any of my other collections. And because they were either too weird or too long or too unserious, so I put them together in a group. I added some newer work and some very new work and tried to make it all sync by some weird method that I can't really describe. So that's what has ended up as Random Universe, and it starts out with the Virgin of Guadalupe. I'm not religious, but I love the Virgin of Guadalupe. I had a month's art residency in San Miguel de Allende a few years ago. And I found out that the Virgin of Guadalupe is everywhere. She's in the markets, she's on books, she's on clothes, she's on t-shirts, she's on earrings. She's beloved in Mexico. She's actually the patron saint of Mexico. And she was so holy that she did not have to die a physical death. She ascended into heaven bodily, and her ascension is celebrated every year on the 15th of August. This is called Dia de la Asunción, San Miguel de Allende. She leaves in the middle of August, when squash and their blossoms are sold in the streets. And in the mercado, pomegranates are opened and divided into stars. She rises over the excrement of dogs on the sidewalks, and rain funneled into the trough of the narrow brown stream. She is lifted above the flat rooftops, studded with gas tanks and hung with laundry. She ascends with the smoke clouds of fireworks and the fragrance of corn cooking over charcoal, leaving behind her curious story, the stranger with blue and scarlet wings, the night journey through the desert, the child mysteriously given and mysteriously taken away. See how she floats slowly up through the bell-shaken air, our mother, carrying roses. Soon she will rise over rings of volcanoes and fields of banana trees, and the sea, lumpy with whales. Already, the hem of her blue robe is hard to make out against the shocking blue sky. Now all we can see are the soles of her small, sandaled feet, shedding the clay-covered dust of the earth. This somehow leads to William Blake, who you all know was a wonderful artist, poet, and mystic, and who was well known for entertaining God and angels in person in his home and his garden. This is called Blake's Garden. William saw angels in the trees, large ones, writing in their books, their wings almost scraping on the ground, their lustrous hair falling in their eyes as they traced glowing letters on the page, taking notes on greengages and vegetable marrows and aubergines, surrounded by a strange perfume like lilies mixed with pepper and the faintest whiff of sandalwood, encircled by auras of sacred fire like fog burning off water. And as the sun beamed down on William Blake and his small garden, where snails slept under the nasturtiums and foxgloves stood like flaming swords, lighted by God's hand. This next poem is the source of the title, and I have absolutely no memory of writing it. I don't know when I wrote it, or how, or why I wrote it. But I was not on hallucinogens, despite what you might think when I actually read it. At large in the random universe, the fat, silver, libidinous tuba took wing in a purple purgatory, where the far-reaching clouds were clabbered, and a terrible, gelid nimbus, like a halo of strawberry jello, surrounded the sun. Meanwhile, a pokey bunny was trying to cross the freeway, and ribboting frogs were enduring wedding bells. The geese and goldfish ate as much as they could, hoping for more. And in the darkness of Paris, a hail of stamens fell over the gelatos and espressos and cafe mochas to swim in the chocolate glaze of small cakes and slowly sink in the florid teacups. Then the half-naked dandelions began to dance, without shoes or camisoles or crinolines, wearing only their golden taffeta skirts and their peppery perfume, while the irises sighed like royalty. The bougainvillea trembled in its phantom paradise, and azaleas floated in the sexy grandmother's curly hair. Somewhere a tiger is slinking westward as the snowy owl waits in his turret for the forgetful mouse in the straw. I remember caresses, fidgeting fingers, that peculiar time on the rug, the mask. But I would rather forget the tapestries we chose, the dross that intensifies and turns to ashes, the mumbling of blonde, embittered Hamlet. Yet still I hear the water wheel, the slapping and coughing and snarling of the flux we dwell in this grungy theater damned by degrees and cracked like spode, this college of disease where we are leashed to process, though we would rather shatter our glasses like gypsies and sashay through the trash. Instead, we are twisted like Gumby, riveted by unsettling leeches, those bloodsuckers that hurt us like scissors or table saws, that torture us with tongs and chopsticks until our eyeballs burst like pods, while I want only to wear lace and a choker of pearls, and to eat Bayonne ham on a doily, forgetting the ice picks, gulping my bread, deaf to the world and its crowded cornucopia. This next poem, I forgot to time myself, so I'm going to read a poem that I wasn't planning to read. This is a mistranslation. There are several mistranslations in the book, which are, if you don't know, occur when you mistranslate a poem from a language that you don't know. So it's a fun thing to do, and sometimes it turns out well, and sometimes it doesn't turn out at all. I hope this one turns out for you. This is called Mistranslator's Song, and it's a mistranslation of a poem by Czesław Miłosz. In the fucking wind, in a cold land, I was ashamed of my wacky chairs. Ducks sang and clung to my gams while the sun crooned and flamed. This is the realm of old lids, of singing ants, of the fuming and caroling sun, and wee wood hens going cluck, cluck, cluck. I have come to the land of death, of love and lust and Freud, where a man could find himself going into woods that are growing endlessly wilder. The murderous toadies of war are gathering here in shame, while I rack my head for an answer, and the old sun flares and flames. It's interesting that the last stanza seems very apt right now. This is a poem for a dear old friend who died several years ago, and his daughter is here today. She's one of the best and most faithful 16 Rivers friends and donors. Frank was famous for gift giving. He was a wonderful gift giver, and he was also a fabulous artist who drew on envelopes and paper tablecloths and anything else that was within reach. And we miss him dearly. This is a poem about his gift giving for Frank. Thank you for all the gifts you gave me, the eye magnon soaps, the Christmas presents for my cat, the Bastille Day basket that didn't arrive on Bastille Day, the album of different versions of Louie Louie, Phil Spector's Christmas album, the mash note inside the album of Sir Ralph Richardson reading Keats, the obscure novels, the beautiful books, the poems by Merwin and Frank O'Hara, the Tiffany earrings, the huge bouquet of garden roses and purple foxgloves you sent when my mother died. Thanks for taking me to see Van Morrison and Leonard Cohen and Santana and the Stuttgart Ballet, and to Campton Place and Flint's Barbecue.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for loving so many people and so many things. Crazy Cat and Thelonious Monk, Groucho Marx and Daffy Duck, Kenneth Patchen and Calvin and Hobbes, your daughters and granddaughter and your friends. Thanks for telling me you cried when you heard a song by Marvin Gaye after he was killed. Thanks for your last postcard saying you were sad about Princess Di. And for your magpie habits, the little gifts you kept in your pockets for your friends, and your magpie mind, the way you could do 5 things at once and talk and joke about everything in the old days before you were ill. Thanks for drawing on napkins and paper tablecloths and so many wacky postcards. And the envelope filled with little cut-up pieces of paper that when I put them all together read, "Please don't think I don't think of you every day." And for your small white teeth with the gap in the middle and the weird way you kept changing your glasses. For your dimple and your dark gold Sicilian skin with the white of your mustache against it. And your furry voice. And the way you mugged for photographs and threw back your head and laughed a short bark of a laugh. For being silly and witty and wise. And for not minding that I didn't understand the depth of your sadness or how much you meant to me until after you were gone. And I'll end with, this is called Aria. Nothing is so beautiful as the ground of being. And though the possible too is beautiful, for it is the engine of desire. Nothing is so beautiful as the real, like unexpected flowers on the doorstep. Fragrant, fragile, marked for death, unfolding moment by moment, lighting the room, lingering in the mind long after they have faded. The lushness of meaning rose to its height in summer, festooned with lilies and snapdragons, bouqueted with leaves and the tiny white flowers that turn into beggar's lice. I picked bunch after bunch and brought them back from my mother's dining table, to where they dropped showers of petals and stamens and pistils, leaf hairs and insects and pollen, seed pods and leaves, dirt and dust and drops of sap, old news from the growing world. The green paths of the world keep calling, edged with poison oak and wild asparagus, crumbled with broken rock and trampled herbs. So time extends. The past grows deep and rich. The future moves toward me, cruel and bounteous, like the sea. Thank you.
Our third celebration, our third book that we are celebrating today is Afterimages by poet and essayist Lenore Myers. In this book, the sections are called galleries, for in them the reader will find a poet's explorations of paintings, sculptures, and other artworks, Balthus, DeFeo, Tarkovsky and others. These artworks are deconstructed and reconstructed with originality and sharp-eyed linguistic grace, as the poet reveals these artworks as collaborations among artists, subjects, and viewers. Afterimages offers the reader the pleasure, discomfort, and understanding to be gained through an artful response to life. Her poems and essays have appeared in a variety of literary journals. I give you Lenore Myers. Please welcome.
I'm not used to amplification. So how is this?
Use the amplification, you have to.
Go with it.
Closer, better,
Yeah,
Okay.
closer is good.
closer, better. Okay. I'm used to projecting a teacher's voice, so I have to not do that. Okay. And the next question I'm going to have for myself, not for you. Yeah, I'm going to use the other glasses. Hang on. Okay. Thank you so much, Joyce, for having us here. I was telling a friend as we were walking over that without you, we'd be pretty much lost, meaning poets in the Bay Area. And it's true, funding for the arts is rough right now, especially in the Bay Area. All right. So as Joyce said, a lot of the poems in this book address artworks by Baltus. Not everyone likes Baltus. It's okay. Maybe some of these will remind you why, but the ones I'll read today, maybe I'll persuade you. All right. This first one is called Young Girl at the Window. Ghost of a chair, curved wood, Louis something, insubstantial. So sparely painted, a bit of wall shows, like a touch of breastbone beneath the blouse. Not really a chair. And the room is not really a room. The girl, not a girl. She stands, hands on sill, window cast slightly open to whatever's out there, a greening tree, orange and tan country houses, yellowish hills, edges softening in the gray-blue haze, till houses and trees are but a puff at the center of the canvas. The window will never be wider than this. And the breeze, isn't there a breeze drifting among the elm leaves, blousy scent of lilac at the windowsill, paying no mind to where things should or shouldn't be, a touch of blue or a child slipping in and out of the frame, while we come into a room just looking for a chair. This one is another Baltus, Thérèse, which I'm not saying right. It's French. Thérèse on a bench seat. I don't know. Thérèse on the bench seat tilts, one hand lifting, pulls from her black plaid skirt, centimeter by centimeter, frees a single slender thread. Shadow behind her, depth's silent accomplice, wrapped in Peter Pan collar and white knee-highs. Thérèse on the bench seat illuminates the ochre dark, in perfect captivity of the moment. One could forget war is coming. Then marriage at 19, and illness, but no, her red sweater says, attendez. The canvas hangs on her slipping down socks, slipping up skirt, her every fiber caught. Alarming to see that unrelenting tug at a fragile strand, a little criminal to want to pull. Only 11 years remain. Inside the frame, she lies beyond here, now, drawing the thread endlessly, bright wisp of thread, tenuous, against the dark, unfinished. This poem is about a photo my dad took of my mom soon after I was born. Mother, 1975. She's looking at the camera, mostly, eyes slightly shifted to something just outside the frame. She said it was me, but we don't see me, just a pile of leaves. Did my father try to capture the half glance, sensing the something, the soft pink slip of eye, the divided moment of her? All right, this one, I'm just going to read an excerpt. It's kind of a mid-length poem. It's about, it's really about this monumental painting sculpture created by Jay DeFeo, who's a Bay Area artist. Some of you may know her work. This creation of hers essentially took up one wall in her apartment. She worked on it for about 8 years. And it's funny because I was thinking, you know, we say that like she made the painting, but really this thing made her. It made her famous, you know, but it also unmade her. It unmade her psychically, emotionally, and physically. Today, the brush strokes light along petals. Tomorrow, the knife takes it all down to canvas and powder. Dust so thick you can't see the end of your marriage. Paintbrush clenched between teeth. Star beacon, blade array, death rose. Oil, plywood, mica, beads, copper wire, barrettes. Set against dark matter of the world, the old world, laid on thick, oh my 2,000-pound splintered halo. Light screaming in, the painting a terrible radiance, Manichaean annunciation of petal and gouge, black undercut by white. In the city where it was made, men rolled dice on the corner. Patrols toss batons. Someone lies forgotten under the bridge. Children laugh in an empty lot. Click lifts the revolver. The panther crouches. The paint is lead. The city clenches its teeth. 1964. A little more. In the wake of 8 years, bent, laddered, spattered, and broke the studio floor and crusted. The tearing back and down of the thing, knives sharpened on drill sets, into the silent apertures. As if to fix an ephemeral image of presence, or raise a moment against its passing. Dropped words, wrenches, a clatter of artless, and the whole thing from a scratch. You were broke and wouldn't let it go, so for years the gallery bought those gallons of white paint. That's okay, words aren't really free either. It's a question of perspective. Seeing art and its costs personally, I never get lines how I want them. But painting is over now. Ripped down, fork lifted out, loaded onto a Ryder truck. That is, the rose went out the window, took the wall with it. And Jay, evicted from her apartment, 1966. And what that paintbrush carried rots the teeth, a kind of palsy, like walking on the back of a whale. The writer brushes away the word scrapings. No, and no, And no, the rent is overdue. Fog over Pine Street crumbles at the edges. 8 years in the dust crowd, whispering in my ear. Turn, and the poem waiting for me like a mother. How I will miss her. One more, another Baltus. The cherry tree. Almost forgotten how it leans in the sun's failing breath, the best kind of forgetfulness. Finding what has slipped your mind climbs back into the painting. Figures in gloss of limb steal in, the scene seem to glow. Brushed in mottled blue, perhaps floral, the girl's dress must be lifting, falling, like a sonnet about her knees, as she ascends the ladder, stretches for the last summer fruit. So much branching beyond the frame, the cherries now almost out of sight. The landscape remains unchanged, but the light falls now differently on the page. Climbing down to plain grass, so many worlds have already fallen around you, unnoticed. One could never know how long the chorus of round vowels will continue to tumble to the shadowed green. It is growing late. You've come so far into the trees, forgotten paint, canvas. Whatever original intention lies behind the scene, you must choose your preferred shadows, walk in tangled shade. Thank you.
Wow.